this back, I guess. What's up, this is Nate the Bias User, and today I'm going to be reviewing this new Magdalena Bay album, Imaginal Disc. Out of all the records I've been anticipating this year, it feels like with this one, it's been a short period of time since I found out it was even going to happen. But of course when I found out, I was hyped. Their debut Mercurial World was one of my favorites of 2021. Just out of this world kind of synth pop. But I definitely don't feel like I digested the hype of this newest record fully. But whether I did or not, I can't entirely say I was ready for the final product. The surrounding of the whole thing feels like an expansion of an already expanded surrounding. And it gives all the instruments so much room to play the way everything wants to play. Or for vocalist Mika Tenenbaum to sing however she wants. And her vocal range on this record, huge evolution. And it helps with how detailed it sounds with the production, even when she's whispering, which is what we get on the first track, She Looked Like Me, with a very gentle beginning full of soft faded out humming being treated as an instrument, staying the way it is as the song gets louder, with the sound of crashing drums working in its digital sound palette, a metal xylophone and a synth that becomes more visible when the loudness ends, where it moves to another section, giving the opportunity to show how much it sounds like a group of goddesses long humming together without taking a breath. In a way, it feels as though the synths were released by the loud build-up, and with the vocal end, the whispering, while relatively quiet, is very visible with not just the detailed production, but with how brightly high-pitched Mika's voice is. And of course it's well delivered. It's on point, intimate, and has good chemistry with the synth direction. Imaginal Disc has a grand opening, that's all I gotta say. And it does not stop showing off what it's capable of when we enter Killing Time, where it introduces its own take on disco, while making everything around those aspects feel as psychedelic as possible the deeper you get in. Like, what is this heavy bass that's instigating what I assume to be the sound of an alien invasion? Or appearance, I don't want to profile aliens. And with the vocals, they are catchy when they're alone, and also on the group section, where the track gets crazy. But in the insanity, the vocals that are whispering, by the way, does sound spooky, blending well with the sound. And I like the lyrical concept, obsessing about how much time we all waste, which is pretty meta when considering the amount of time we waste thinking so much about time. We get a solid interlude that's actually worth listening to, but I can expect that from Mag Bay. It's a breezy, short, out-of-body experience to get you ready for the mystical image. Mostly a dance pop cut, but you can always sit and appreciate the low-key synths on the chorus. But active or not, beware of the loud, deep, vibrating bass towards the end, backed up by the normal singing, with a group vocal layer behind it. Death and Romance stands out at embracing how open the overall sound comes off, by not just giving us an incredibly spacey piano performance, but also with the moments on the chorus where the sound gets relatively tight. And there's no piano, just drums, group vocals, and a static bass that creates this mental gravitational pull, keeping you sucked into the quieter moment until it releases you once everything in the background fades back in. And we get the same vocals, but with the pianos and everything else. And I can go on talking about how crazy and unique everything is all day, but I don't want to forget to tell anyone the disco influence the piano play derives from. So yeah, it's there. And I also don't want to forget the psychedelia of all the synths, even though they are just so different, and one of them extends immediately until the end, as very soft tapping drums fade in, making a perfect transition to the short follow-up, Fear Sex, where with the hard-hitting Michael Jackson Bad Era-esque drum and bass backing up the vocal repetition saying "get me, get me, get me," has this very clicking, foggy through a tunnel, sparkling voice sound that with this entire track can fit well as music playing during some kind of magical cave adventure. For most of the follow-up, Vampire in a Corner, it is calm, giving the audience the opportunity to explore the tiny things going on, including the playful, somewhat uncomfortably loving lyrics, where on the verses closes off with the lines, "I think I might have loved you too much, and it's only 'cause I love you too much." And in its low-key sound, there is still evolution that does its best to prepare for the loud, plugged-in bassy synths that show up out of nowhere, which of course results in the vocals stooping to the same level. An unpredictable risk that worked out in the end, and it managed to calm down enough to move into the track Watching TV in its dreamy, calm synth frolics. And I appreciate the piano keys we get that sound like one you get faded in on the goated Radiohead track Paranoid Android. It works well. The chorus is grand and it gets bigger every time it shows up. It's instigated greatly when, on the final one, an oily synth solo kicks it off, with an orchestra and all over the place static electronics that you may have heard a lot of on Mercurial World backing it up. The synths on Tunnel Vision also brings out a frolicking feel, but with an even bigger sense of wonder, especially when we get this background rise of synths that can easily be mistaken for an orchestra. And that rise opens the chorus, where the physical drum play, but with the wacky synths this duo is known for, and the vocal chemistry with it, manages to bring an amazing jazz feel that becomes more transparent when a strong piano replaces the synth, giving that mood where someone is playing a piano while some lady sings sitting on top of it, which isn't something we get on the final phase. It's just a loud rock passage. And once that's over, you get Love Is Everywhere, that some of you may find to sound similar to a track off the 2023 Lil Yachty album, Running Out of Time, that actually did have a Magdalena Bay production credit, believe it or not, and the instrumental was reused. So to all of you who are gaslighting yourselves into thinking it just sounds like the Lil Yachty track, please stop it. Yeah, I'm looking at you. But to acknowledge what makes Love Is Everywhere, different lyrics and vocals that still manages to feel fresh, even when the performance still sounds like Running Out of Time. But what's ironic about the vocal performance from Mika is there's more rapping here than on the Lil Yachty cut. And with the sound difference that makes a lot of sense is the production. It isn't as tight, I assume, to fit in with the rest of the album. There's even a tiny moment laced in the track that brings back the singing from the intro, and it comes back again on what is basically an interlude, feeling disconcerted. A good passageway to the highly psychedelic follow-up, That's My Floor. The strong guitar layers that succeed at sounding like a bass, its adventurous direction that becomes blissful with the bright la-la humming, and outside the psychedelic stuff, there's sounds that give out video game OST vibes, like the synth bass that's highly Sega Genesis-esque, or the flute reminded me of the N64. I just love how dorky this record can be at times, while also bringing in its influences that actually are pleasing to society. It's a good clash between worlds. Don't take this the wrong way, but the highlight of Crawl for me is the ending, but specifically how it ends, where the track seems to go on, but it has to end at some point, so it just fades out. I always found endings like that to be quite fun, and it's even more cool on a track as progressive as this one, where the vocals come off more and more aggressive. Angel on a Satellite is a quiet down until the closer, and I show most of my enjoyment from the falling down sensation from the humming and piano play, aligning with each other. It might make you fall asleep, but in a good way. That's all that matters. And the closer, the Ballad of Matt and Mika, will wake you up real quick. It begins already establishing its R&B city pop vibe that we had a lot of back in Mercurial World, way more than here. But there were a lot of other things present. The lack of city pop is justified, and it helps make what's present on this track more appreciated, especially when it becomes more in your face when the tempo shifts. The drums hit and the piano is loud. Same with the vocals, where the same singing that was on the last interlude, laced on Love Is Everywhere, and started on the intro, returns, being as out there as possible, with different layers of different tones and attitudes backing it up. I can listen to this track for days. It is the perfect closer, much like this entire album, or it's at least crazy close to it. Imaginal Disc by Magdalena Bay, the best of more than one world. I was looking for peak from this modern era of disco, same with modern psychedelic synth pop. That's also unique. And who would have thought the record I was looking for managed to have aspects of both things, and twists and bend those things into something so brain-altering and unpredictable, not to mention how well performed it all is. And while I guess some may find a bit of the performances and riffs to be somewhat derivative, and I can kind of agree, but as negative of a connotation being derivative is, that doesn't change how things that were present before still helped an overall project feel original by giving Matthew and Mika the opportunity to put their own weird, fun, and well put together spin on what was already done. A move that did not miss. Every track on this album was amazing, by the way. I'm gonna give this album a 9.7. Yep. Yeah, it's really great. Like, subscribe, comment how you feel, or give a suggestion. Check out my other social medias, ring that bell, and I'll see you next time.